All right, today we're working on my brother's 2008 Toyota Tacoma, and it's four-wheel drive. We're gonna put new rotors and new brake pads on it. These have got 4 pressure points on the brake pads. They've got some big brakes for a little small truck like this. It's pretty stout. But the first thing we got to do is compress the calipers. There's many ways of compressing calipers. I like to do it while it's still in the vehicle. And what I do is I get in here with a screwdriver and pry it over slowly until it compresses it. If y'all can see that or not, probably not. But it is compressing both of those at the same time. Let me get a bigger screwdriver. Oh, I got one right here. Screwdriver, pry bar, whatever you got. If you're going to reuse your rotor, that's okay too. You won't hurt it by doing this. Just don't gouge it up or anything like that. You'll be all right. Oh, the wheel's turning on me. Okay, now we gotta get the other side. Let's see. I was able to hook on this side, but not the back. That's worn all the way down to the metal, which is why we're replacing the rotor also. It's got grooves worn in it, and we're just putting new ones on it. Be easier that way. You can just go ahead and remove the brake pads, but I like getting these compressed before I take it apart. There we go. I don't know if you can see that. I got that pulled apart just a little bit. There we go. Okay, now I can get there we go. All right. What it looks like is I'm pushing this side in, it's pushing the other side back out. Maybe I can compress both at the same time. There we go. That's working. It's gonna go slow. You just gotta, push on even pressure while you're doing it. And there we go. They're both all the way spread apart. All right, now these pins, these slider pins, have got a cotter pin kind of thing in it that goes through a hole on that side. You pull that out of the top and bottom. Should come out pretty easy. And oh, come on. Maybe the top one come out. You gotta love rust and brake dust. Alright, so I got the pins pulled out of there. They were pretty rusty, so I had to do some twisting and pulling on them. But they did come out. You have a spring in the bottom. Pay attention to the way that's facing. You won't need to use that again. Your new brake pads should come with a new spring. And then the brake pads just slide out of the caliper. And the back one is the one that has your squealer built into it. God, there ain't nothing left of that. So, but we're gonna replace the rotor also, so we gotta get the caliper off. Okay, now to get the brake caliper off here, you have your 2 bolts, one there and one there. It's 2 17 millimeters. And you're also gonna have to remove this brake line mount bolt right here, and that's a 12 millimeter. So one 12 millimeter and two 17 millimeters. And 17 millimeters are gonna be very tight. They're always fun to break loose. I think I'm probably gonna have to use a breaker bar on it. I'm gonna go ahead and break this brake line first. That should. There we go. Okay, because this is a hard brake line. It's not soft, so you won't be able to move it very much. But you get your 17 mil. Oh man, I doubt those have ever been taken off there before. Ow. Let me get my cheater bar. All right. Man. There it goes. Okay. Brake caliper, and I got a bungee cord here hanging from the shock. That way it doesn't pull on your brake lines. See, I just hung it, hooked it on the top of the shock, ran it through the brake caliper, and it's holding it up. That way, there you go, it ain't pulling on your brake lines. So now we're gonna take a hammer and hit this from the back side and spin it as we're hitting it, and it should break it loose. Everything's plastic on vehicles anymore. I haven't got a lot of places to put the camera so you can see. Maybe that'll work. Huh? Maybe. So you just take your hammer. And your rotor should come off. There we go. Yeah. Definitely needed new ones. You'll see the grooves in that, and it's worn down. It looks like it's been turned before, sometime in the past. The backside got worn down so hard, or so much, that it is definitely damaged. That's pretty rough. So we got new ones. We're gonna go ahead and put them on there. When you get new rotors, they'll come covered in oil. So you'll need to take them out and use some carb, choke cleaner, brake cleaner, something like that, any kind of cleaner. Spray them down, wipe them up, clean them up, and then it'll just slide right back on there. Okay, so I got it all cleaned up and I got it slid on here. Now keep in mind, it's going to be loose because I don't have the screws to put in there to hold it on there, which I don't like using those screws anyway because you almost can't ever get them back out. You can, but it's not easy. So it doesn't matter which holes the rotor goes in, nothing like that. It's just get it on there and you're good. So now I'm going to put the caliper back on here, get it all tightened up real good. Put the brake line back on, and then I'll show you how to put the brake pads back in it. Okay, so I got the brake caliper back on there. I did use my breaker bar to tighten it up. I didn't over tighten it, just really, really snug. And what you'll want to do is you'll take a screwdriver and kind of clean this up in here a little bit. Just scrape the dirt and grime and stuff that's on there off of it. Just to clean it up a little bit. Nothing wrong with that. Do the top and bottom. Top ain't that bad. Actually, the top's pretty clean. But the bottom will probably have dirt and grime in it. So, there we go. Wasn't too bad. It had a little bit of stuff in it. Now, when you go to put your brake pads in, remember, one of them has your squealer on it. Yep, there we go. And what that is whenever you start hearing a squeak from your front brakes, then you know that your brake pad's getting worn down and it needs to be replaced, if that makes sense. And remember, the squealer pad goes on the inside right here. So what I'm going to do is I got some copper anti-seize. I'm going to put it on here. It's just a little bit of a lubricant. I'm not going to put a bunch of it. And I have to push this in with one hand to hold it square while I slide the brake pad into the caliper right here. So let me get some anti-seize on this. It actually came with its own packet of grease. Oh, I say anti-seize, it says grease, but it sure does look like copper anti-seize to me. So we're just going to take a little bit, and you don't put it on the back side, put it on the front half of it, because when you go to slide it in, it'll smear it up across the rest of it. So just a little bit there, a little bit on the bottom, like that. Make sure this is the squealer pad, the one with the squealer built onto it. Hold your caliper or your rotor straight, and it should just, there we go, slide right in there. And where's my front one? And you know how they go in there because this matches the curvature of your rotor. So you'll know that that goes in to match it like that. Anti-seize, grease, whatever. If you didn't, if your kit that you bought, new brake pads, did not come with this, you could just use, you don't technically have to use anything. You should, but you don't technically have to. You could use suspension grease. That would work just as well. Just a little bit. You don't need a lot. Straight. And there we go. This kit came with new sliders and new springs for it. It actually came with extras, so this was made for another vehicle also. You don't need these two. I don't know if they go, if there's, yeah, they're for a different vehicle, so you don't need those. Just use the same one that came with it. And you'll need a new slider. This is why you only do one side at a time too, is so you can go back to the other side if you don't remember which direction the this spring went, then you can go back and reference it. So what we're going to do is the bottom one slides through these loops on here, and I'll show you when I get it put together. So we go through here, line your brake pad up to the hole. There it goes. Okay, so yeah, that goes like this. It'll go in between. It'll go in between the brake pads. This slides through and helps to hold it in place. Get the holes lined up. There we go. Oop. There, yeah, all right. Now, put the top one in. We have to do a little jiggling around to get it to go in. It also came with new, I just call them cotter pins. They're not cotter pins, they're pins that keep it from, the sliders from coming back out. There's one. And there's the other one. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see that. The slider went through that, through the hole on the brake pad, through the other hole brake pad, and then out to there. And then you put your little cotter pin in it. And the bottom, you can see this is the spring. It slid through there, through the brake pad, through the spring, through the brake pad, and then back through the caliper. Now what you got to do here is you got to bring the top, this is going to stay on the outside of the brake pad, and the top of this is going to come over and go inside that hole right there. So Let's see if I can get that in there. Yeah, just like that. So there, and there we go. Okay. Oh, there we go. Make sure it's pushed all the way out. So there we go. And I'm gonna get a rag and I'll clean up this extra grease / copper anti-seize. Like I said, the packet says it's grease, but I'm pretty sure that's copper anti-seize. So there you go. That's really all there is to changing brake pads and rotor. Now, if you're just doing the brake pads, of course, you wouldn't have to take the caliper off or anything like that. You just got to get your pads out, get your calipers pressed back in, and put your new pads in. Put all your new hardware in, and you'd be good to go. Just remember, you do both sides of this when you get in the vehicle. When you go to start it, you need to pump your brakes a couple of times to build the pressure back up and get rid of the slack in it. Just also remember, when you first put brand new brakes on like this, you're gonna smell them for a couple of days and up to a week, depending on how much you drive. So smelling your brakes after you put new brakes on is normal. And that's all there is to it.